I had heard about Connor quite a bit from Frank. I had met Frank about a year-ish before Connor, and I was going to Elixir Conf. Ooh, I don't remember what year. Um, Not the last year that it was up in Seattle, but the year before. And I was helping out in the nerves training that Frank was doing, and so was Connor. And I look over at this, like, I don't know, young guy with long hair sitting in the back in his shorts, and he has the best Hawaiian t-shirt in the room, and he's playing his Game Boy. And I was like, what the heck, man? Like, wow, so millennial of you. And so I go over there and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I thought we were here to help out. And he turns his Game Boy sideways and IEX is running on it. And it's like, wait, you're running IEX on your Game Boy? There, Nerves inside. There it is on his Game Boy. And then he like took me through that whole thing. And from that point on, like, I was like, I need to know this guy. I mean, I feel that way about everybody I meet anyway. There's always something special about everybody, but like with Connor, I was just blown away from one moment. I went from freaking millennial playing his Game Boy in the back of the room. Although I think I am on the very beginning end of what's called a millennial, probably either that or I'm on the they call half of my life retro at this point.
Certainly mentally that you're there.
Yeah, definitely. And then like the next minute was like, just wow, okay, you got to tell me about how you did this. And from that moment on, like every time I talked to Connor, he had some new chip or something where he was like, hey, they say that you can't put nerves in this because it doesn't have enough RAM. I'm gonna make it happen. And he's like putting Elixir on everything. Being involved with the nerves community, I got to see a lot of Connor, and over the years, I think I would say we developed a friendship. And then I asked Connor, I said, hey, you want to work together? And he said, sure. And so we planned a 6-month out-ish date for Connor to start. And then he started January. He's been here almost a year that we've been working together, and we're on separate projects right now. So we don't get to work together as much as I would want to. But I've loved working with Connor and would love to keep it up. And we try to also internally support nerves and things like that. Like one day a week, Connor gets to work on whatever he wants. I don't make him work on nerves, but I think most of the time it's nerves related.
So what are you doing at the Noggin these days? What's your project now?
I'm currently working with Frank on, let's see if I can get it into frame without knocking a bunch of crap off my desk. There's this Google product called Flutter, which is like kind of a React native, but Google made it. Uses a programming language called Dart. I don't know how well this is going to come into focus, but anyways,
Yep.
This is like a mobile app basically, but it runs within Nerves through Elixir, OpenGL and all that stuff.
Really? So that's using Dart with Elixir.
Yeah, so Dart is Google's,
Sure.
I don't know what it is. It's a curly bracket programming language. It looks like JavaScript. But anyway, so they made this whole entire framework for like native app development called Flutter, and you can target web, iOS, and Android all out of the box. And we're making it so you can now target nerves as well. So it kind of like, maybe you can think of it as like an alternative to Scenic.
That's in Dart. So interesting. I didn't know anything about Flutter.
I still don't know that much about it either. I've got like the bare minimum amount of Dart knowledge to just fumble my way through making like a really basic app. I tested it out on like an Android phone and then just wired it up so it would work on nerves.
Probably the most interesting part about embedded systems for me is that you get to cross so many important boundaries, and the people who build just the embedded systems piece, they're important, right? But the people who can take that vision beyond one piece like Connor, your ability to kind of break out of the Nerves box with Bluetooth or with some of the networking that you've had experience with, or Amos, your ability to kind of shape a grander vision that says, okay, this is where the data is coming from. It's coming into the Elixir ecosystem here, and this is what we can do with that data. I'm looking at the Nerves community from the perspective at Groxio of sensors, right? So this year is dedicated to data, and from the Elixir perspective, we did a little bit of live view. Now we're doing Nerves plus sensors. We're going to be doing ecto and property-based testing next because they're all data-centric things. And then we're actually doing something different. We're going in the Julia direction to kind of look at how to use that data to build models and apply differential equations and techniques like that to get into machine learning. So, man, my math has been getting a workout.
I'm amazed, like the bouncing between languages. Like, I mean, it started with, your book that you wrote, 7 Languages in 7 Weeks, like that. Your ability, you in particular, when I watch you to like say, hey, I can pull this, I can pull in the data collection from Nerves and this from Julia and this from Live View and Phoenix and marry these together to produce one really powerful system. I'm always so impressed by that. And that's why I continue to follow your Groxio is that it's amazing that you take all of these separate classes and they feel like they're really separate things. Like you have your Live View pipeline, but then you're saying, here's how we put all of these together and become better developers and better people, really. I feel like, because when we're combining all these different knowledges, it allows us to think better, not just about programming, but about all of our life. But I'm curious, what sensors are you trying to put together with Nerves? Is that something I can ask now, or is that secret sauce?
In fact, Connor, you mentioned Frank. Frank's been helping me with this project. So I said, can you suggest a couple of sensors? And he said, what's your address? And I gave my address, and he sent me this pack with all these all the soldering done and all the, all the pairings, and going, this envelope, don't mix the two, but I have this sensor on this all Raspberry Pi zeros, all the cables I needed to connect. He tried to make it foolproof, and he did. That said, I can't tell you what they are yet because we haven't chosen exactly which ones, right? But Connor, I'd really like to talk with you about the other part of this triangle, and that's actually getting out of the Nerves device and into the network and into the connection options. You're working with a couple of projects right now in that area, right?
Working with, I guess, that's kind of like my favorite part of Nerves is like I don't know, for me, I try to keep for the projects that I make for like my personal stuff, I try to keep like the Nerves device code like about as simple as it could possibly be. Just collect all of the information you can and just shovel it somewhere else, which seems to be like what you've been into, especially like with the Julia stuff, where it doesn't matter how you get it, just as long as you have it. And that's kind of how I deal with it as well, because it's way like for like my most recent personal project, I've just been like controlling lighting and stuff in my house, and like it's way easier to redeploy a web app than it is to deploy code to 15 devices throughout your home. And like Nerves Hub is a project that the Nerves community has kind of came together to create, and it's very nice in redeploying code and stuff like that, but there's still no beating just deploying a web app is way faster. So if you just deploy your web app and you implement all of the logic for controlling everything somewhere else, like away from the devices, all the devices have to be is like dumb terminals basically. And so I just do the bare minimum required to get the Nerves device connected to some external service to be able to control. Usually I just use Phoenix channels, because if I'm writing both sides of it, I'm just going to, if I have control over both sides, I'm going to pick the thing that's easiest for me, and Phoenix channels is is that for me. Phoenix channels mixed with presence is just an amazing combination for nerves for me.
Which is really cool, right? And so it strikes me. So Maggie, you got to edit the video from Frank's company, and he had very much the same experience, right? Where he was saying, okay, well, I built this thing in a very specific way, and it was used in ways that we didn't expect. So tell that story, Maggie.
About the eyes.
Yes.
So Frank was telling the story about how they were doing something with this ocular reader, and so he'd be looking through it, and all of a sudden there'd be a whale eye, and a little while later there'd be some kind of goat eye, and he's like, "These aren't human eyes. What's happening?" And it turned out to be that there was some veterinary application for the project.
So they were trolling Frank with those things. So Connor, I'd love to hear about your experience with Bluetooth, with the Bluetooth projects that you're working with.
Yes, so SmartRent is building a device that connects to a Bluetooth-enabled door lock. And out of that, we started building a Bluetooth framework in Elixir. It's almost ready, I'll say. It's pretty close to being ready for the general public to use, but it still needs a bit of work. I'm hoping that we can get a little bit more time to work on it.
Yeah. What are the frameworks? What do they look like?
It's just in Elixir, so it's essentially a gen server type process thing. You subscribe to events and whatnot, and we tried to make it kind of analogous to the, like, say, Adafruit's Bluetooth libraries that you might write in C++. So like really high level things. You don't have to know about the internals of how Bluetooth works. It's kind of abstracted away. And the goal is just to, like, right, because like that's a lot, like we make nerves try to be as simple as possible for people with no embedded knowledge, and that's kind of the route that I wanted to take with Bluetooth as well, is people that don't have, experience in all. Like, Bluetooth is this huge protocol. It's like a 550-page document on just the low energy portion of it, and all of, like, I don't want people to have to know how to do all that just to toggle a lock on and off. Like, it really boils down to like a pretty simple protocol at the end of it. So we just kind of implemented the I won't say noob, but the uneducated approach to where you can get something up and running and it be somewhat production ready without having to know a ton about how Bluetooth works.
So hard, right? Because when you talk about an expert layer, that can just say, hey, here's access to all the APIs underneath, right?
Right.
Every
so
layer
that's kind of what it looks like a lot right now is, there's access to all of the lower level stuff. But what I really want for it is just to have like a super simple API implemented on top of that, right? Like, there's 150 protocols in the Bluetooth stack, and realistically, one of them are useful. So, or not, I won't say not are useful, but realistically, like, the developer is going to need to want to know one of them at the very highest level. And so if we can just get all of those other stuff, out of the way for you, all you need to do is worry about, connect, communicate, and like collect. That's all you need to do. And
that's wonderful. Yeah. So there's this man named Glenn Vanderberg, is one of the best developers I've ever known. And his theory, or a theory that he wrote about of somebody else's, I can't remember which, and I'm going to get in trouble for attribution here. But he said that that all great APIs have two things. They have a generalization, right? So here's access to the things you need, and a trapdoor, right? And in case you don't have exactly what you need, I'm going to give you access to one level down, and then you can drill through. And that one might give you access to something one level down, and then you can drill down as low as you need. So it strikes me that that's the kind of approach that you're taking.
Yeah, and Frank really kind of pioneers that for me as well. He's very he's adamant about these kind of things, right? Like, that's how he wants nerves to work, right? You don't, like, if you can go from a basic CRUD Phoenix application to developing a embedded application, I'd say that's a win. And I think Nerves really hits that, right? Like there's not a whole lot more advanced technical knowledge required to get started with Nerves compared to Phoenix. There's a couple gotchas, you know, like read-only file system. You know, you got to know that there are certain places you like, you know, there are a couple little gotchas, but nothing show-stopping compared to using another framework like Yocto or Buildroot, which is what Nerves is actually built on. You know, we have the trapdoor. You can get into those things, but you don't need to know them.
That's perfect. And I guess I'll out Frank one more time, you know, while we're getting in trouble, right? Frank and I are going to be working on the book portion of that content together, and that will be hopefully available as a pragmatic bookshelf short book. It's called an Answers collection, which ought to be a lot of fun. So I've worked with Frank, but kind of he likes to stay in the background, right? And tries to support everybody else's work. And, you know, so I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. So, but Connor, the things that we're working on are exactly these kinds of issues, right? So Frank is going to be dealing with slightly low level things, and I'll be thinking about how to abstract things, right? So how to use the same software 3 ways: in tests, in IEX on a host, and on the hardware. So I'm really looking forward to that. We want to kind of talk about the layering systems and how to preserve a core where it makes sense. But I found that it doesn't always make sense, right? So I was writing a little section of the second Groxio chapter, and we were using the GPIO, the Circuits GPIO API. And I was saying, well, okay, so I wrapped this in a core, but the core already existed, right? So it had like this cool stub. And so I said, well, you can build the Designing Elixir Systems architecture coreless when it makes sense, or you can do it with adapters. So I built Blinky 2 ways, right? One with all the layers, with a pluggable adapter where you could write 3 ways, right? IEX, to the hardware, and write to it through your tests. And so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's always been like the hardest thing in doing hardware development is testing, especially when it comes to end-to-end testing. So that adapter pattern is really important so that you can make sure that you're testing at the level that you can. And sometimes you don't always have the hardware, right? Like maybe you have a component that's super expensive, or it's going to take 6 months to develop, but you want to have your software moving along long before you get that component. So that is a fantastic way, is that adapter pattern, to pull it out and make sure that you can have all kinds of clients that can speak the language.
Elixir just makes that so incredibly easy to do with both behavior and protocol. Getting that adapter pattern, you know, the same way that plug works and all of the libraries we love, this works on Nerves just so well.
Connor, is there anything else that we need to know about the any help that you need with some of the public projects that you're working on, or anything that you want to plug?
We've been trying to get people to use the new Bluetooth library. It's called Blue Heron. It's open source and it works as of right now. But what we really want is like someone to tell us like their ideal API for using that, like maybe someone who's built Android apps or something to that effect. Right now, I have but 1 device or 2 devices that I've been testing it with, and it works really well for those 2 devices, but I suspect that for basically every other use case, it's not going to work quite as well out of the box. And I just want that to be like, you know, the magical experience you get when you use a new project and it works first try and all that. So I want to get people to tell me what they want the API to look like, what they would feel happy using, what parts they need, and everything like that.
And so, Amos, can you tell us what's going on at Binary Noggin? And if people have project work, how can they reach you, and what kind of things do you offer?
we've had we've had a crazy year this year. We've worked on election software this year. So that's fun. We've worked on a system that utilizes machine learning and cameras to detect falls in hospitals so that we can, and try to predict when people are going to fall so that we can prevent falls, because it's really expensive for hospitals. The Blue Heron Library, we offer support for that too. If you need like major commercial support, something outside of where most open source maintainers, and I will plug for Connor. He maintains all kinds of things. So if anybody wants to help out with like SQLite library, right, Connor, they hop in there and help out. And in the future, we do a lot of team augmentation, where we come in and help your team out, just to get something over the line, but also to like figure out how to work as a team better. And if you've ever read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, trust is that base level. So we work on trust as a team, and then incremental improvements from that point forward, so that we can also level up your team. We also do product development. So if you have a product, but you don't have your own team, and you want somebody to come get that product off the ground in a very sustainable manner, so that you don't have competition come in that says, ooh, I like what they're doing, and then outpace you because they've done it right, we'll help you get off on the right foot. And ultimately, we'll even help you hire the right team to come in and take over for us. Or we can continue to work with you forever. We would love to be your team. If you want to get a hold of us, our website's binarynoggin.com, or you can email me, Amos, Amos, @binarynoggin.com, and we'll hook you up, get you to talk to us. We would love to do nerves work and distributed systems work.
And Maggie, last but not least,
The Discord, the information's on the YouTube page that has the Tetris series on it. And you can reach me at info@grox.io.
and what about for courses, Maggie? So if somebody wants an OTP course or a live view course, how can they find us?
The easiest thing is also to reach me at info@grox.io, or you can look at our website, grox.io, under courses. We have our information there. We've got an OTP class and a live view class coming up in January and February that we're taking registrations for now.
Thank you so much, everybody. This was a lot of fun. We're going to have to do it again sometime.